Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm going to be reviewing Sky 5 from Jude City Games. Sky 5 is a 2 to 6 player game in which players are trying to push their luck as they collect various sets of cards in order to add up all the numbers at the end of it and see who has the most banked points. Before we dive into the video, this channel is sponsored by Allplay, more about them at the end of the video. In Sky 5, you're going to be playing with this deck, or depending on the player count, possibly less cards in the deck, but just taking a random assortment of cards, putting them on the table, and now you have a pile of cards. On your turn, you can go ahead and do one of two things. At first, all you do really is take a card. Look at that. That's a blue 4. Let's go ahead and put it in front of me. Next player takes their turn. We'll simulate a 3-player game for simplicity. Next player takes their turn. They take a purple 6. That's great. That's the highest value there is. It's amazing. It's one of the best cards you can get. Not the best card. We'll get to that later. Next player takes a card, and they have a red 4. Amazing. Back to my turn over here. I'll take a card, and it's a yellow 2. Now, there are 5 colors in the game. You're seeing 4 of them. The last is green. That's evidenced by the little rainbow there. And this player over here, they're going to go ahead and take another card. They're going to take a red 2. Now, unfortunately, well, actually, no, unfortunately, sorry, I'm playing 3 players, it has me a little in my head because we have our first duplicate. They take their red 2. Great, no problem. This player takes a card, and they take a purple 6. Everything's going swimmingly. This player takes a card. They take a purple 1. Everything's going amazing. And this player is now going to try to bank their cards. What they're going to do is they're going to roll this die. On your turn, you either take a card or you try to bank. If you bank, you roll a die, and as long as you don't roll a number present on one of your cards, you can bank your cards. So they'll go ahead and roll. They don't want a 2 or 6. They got a 6, which means they busted, unfortunately. So what they're going to do now is they're going to take this card over here, and this player has an opportunity to take one of their cards. But this player can't because they already have those colors. You may not have noticed this yet, but you can only have one of each color in front of you, so they cannot take either the purple, because they have a purple, or the red, because they have a red. But that means this player can take a card. They'd love to take that purple 6 because it's worth more points than their purple 1, but they already have a purple 1, so they cannot take a purple. They'll take this red over here, and this card will be discarded. That was their turn. Back to their turn. They'll go ahead and draw a card. They're going to push it because they are trying to get 5 of a kind, and they got a blue 3 over here. They're going well. Back to this player. They have a few options over here. They could draw a card. They need a green, or alternatively, it's not going to help them. Or they could roll the dice, and as long as they don't get a 1, 2, 4, 2 over here, well, 2 is already duplicated, then they're good to go. They'll go ahead and draw a card. They draw a card, and look at that. It's Sky 5 over here. They will take these cards, and they will bank these cards. If you ever have all 5 colors in front of you, your cards are banked, they are safe. Back to this player's turn. They draw a card over here. They get a green 6. This player, they go ahead and draw a card. They get a green 3. I go ahead and draw a card. I get a purple 1. Back to here, we draw a card. Let's get rid of this out of the way so you don't get distracted. They draw a purple 3. And they need a yellow card. Are they going to go for it? They could roll a 1, 2, or 5 and they'd be safe. But that's a 50% chance. They'll go ahead and go for that yellow. And they draw a purple 1. And they unfortunately bust. The reason is not because they drew a purple. You might think it is. That seems to be what's happening here. The reason is because they drew a purple card. For example, let's pretend they had drawn the next card. If they had drawn a blue 6, they could simply give that card to another player. In fact, they must give that card to another player. If you have a color in front of you and you already draw that color, if you draw that color when you already have it, you have to give it to somebody else. Because I banked my cards, they'll go ahead and give it to this person, hoping they won't keep those cards. But then when it comes back to the turn, they draw that purple, they can no longer give that card to anyone because everyone already has a purple in front of them, which means they bust. And once again, the busting process repeats. Going clockwise from that player, I'll go ahead and take a card. I'll take that red 4 over here, because that means this player cannot take any of the colors and all of these will be discarded. That's the basic cycle of play. The cycle of play is on your turn, you draw a card or try to bank the cards in front of you. The risks in front of you at all times are if you draw a card that you already have, you have to give that card to somebody else. If everybody already has that color, you bust. If you try to roll the die to bank their cards, the more cards you have in front of you, the more chances that you'll roll a number that is present on one of your cards and you'll bust. When you bust from either of those options, players will take your cards if they're able to, and then you'll be left with nothing in front of you until you can once again try to bank your cards, either through successful rolling of the dice or alternatively through Sky 5. Sky 5 is whenever you have all 5 colors in front of you, regardless of whether that happens on your turn or if it happens when somebody else busts and you get a card, completing your set. The last thing to show you, because it actually hasn't come up over here, is there are some cards that are colorless cards. A colorless card goes in front of you, you can always take it. all the other rules still apply, it just doesn't count as a color, so you could potentially have more points, although it still counts as a number when it comes time to roll this die, so there still is some risk attached to it. That is how you play Sky 5. It's a quick, fast-playing game of pushing your luck, trying to be mindful of the cards in front of you, but just as importantly as the cards in front of others. And now we're going to go ahead and dive into my review, telling you what I think, what I like, all of those things, and I'll say, this game, when I first read the rules to this, I mean, this is from Juice City Games. They're doing a small box little party game. That's fine. That's great. Small box party games can absolutely land. They can also be forgettable. And I read the rules for this one, and I'd say after I read the rules, I was less excited than before I read the rules, because before I read the rules, it's a small party game. Great. Then I read the rules, and I was like, oh, they're trying to be Flip 7. They're trying to be the next Flip 7. If you're not familiar, Flip 7 has taken the gaming world by storm. It's a very lightweight party game. It's definitely leaning more mass market than, traditional hobbyist gaming, but people in both sectors are enjoying it very much, although I will say the op is very arguably over-pushing that IP. They had Flip 7 Liquid Death, unless that was an April Fool's joke, and I don't think it was. There's a point where you're pushing it too far. This is not about that. This is about Sky 5. So I read the rules and I was like, oh, this is definitely trying to be a Flip 7 clone, but different enough that it's its own beast. Draw a card and you either get points or you bust. I've seen that before with a very popular game. Again, Flip 7. And so I got a little less excited. I was like, okay, it's going to be, at best it's another Flip 7. At worst, it's just a worse version of the game. And that's not true. That's why I'm excited about this review. Normally, if you've seen this channel, I have a series on the channel where I do 6 small box game reviews. And generally, if it's a small box and it's getting a dedicated review, it means I liked it and or wanted to talk about it in a way that gives it more attention than when I do a 6 small round of reviews. So the fact that this, as a tiny little box, is here means I want to talk about it. I mean, I guess obviously. But anyways, Sky 5 definitely impressed me. It was very different as far as the feeling, and you might not get, because watching that how to play, you might walk away with the same feeling I had reading the rulebook. This is trying to be Flip 7, but I'll just play Flip 7. That's already good. And this is a very different feeling because of the interaction with the other players that adds a whole new spin to it. Yes, the push your luck, can I get a ton of points feeling of Flip 7 is there. That's absolutely true. They are trying to cater to that, and I think they did a good job. The question is, does the gameplay stand on its own? And because of the fact that other players constantly get your cards, you don't bust if you draw a color you already have, you give it to somebody else. And that changes the entire dynamic of the game. Every single time I've played this game, and I've played this game a lot already, every single time I've played this game, it has resulted in different types of players. There's the players that are always trying to go for Sky 5, always trying to draw another color in order to go ahead and complete their set. And then there's the players that are always banking. The players who are sitting there and saying, you know what, it's my turn, I'm going to go ahead and bank this because that's pretty guaranteed. Granted, it's only 1 point, unfortunately, but I'm going to go ahead and bank these because if I don't have cards in front of me, I can get cards from other players. Because the math of the table is other players are trying to complete their set. I'm going for that last card. I need a green. But the problem is if everyone else at the table has greens, if everyone else on the table has other colors that I have in front of me. If I have a red and a blue and everyone has red and blue, then I'm saying they're going I need that green, but if I draw a red or a blue, I bust. That's not great. And so I'm slightly less likely to draw a card and more likely to try to bank my cards. But if I see that I can safely give away reds and blues, then I'll try to get that green because getting Sky 5 is very fun and very rewarding, and you don't have to run the risk of rolling the die and not getting what you need anyway, so you want that green. But there's that risk analysis of other people at the table, and can I pass off my cards? So it means if I'm the player who's sitting there rolling my die, constantly banking my cards, I'm effectively taking smaller bite-sized savings of cards while opening up my tableau so that players can, with a degree of risk assessment, sit there and say, okay, well, I can always give a red card to Alex, so I'm safe. I'm going to go ahead and go for that green. It's a red. Here you go, Alex. Here's that red 6. And I did nothing. And before my turn comes back to me, I have a red 6 and a purple 5 in front of me. I go ahead back to my turn, and I go ahead and try to bank it. Sometimes I do roll a 5 or 6, and I don't get those points, but that feeling is there. This game accommodates different personalities and playstyles at the same time, whether because that's naturally what they want to try to do, or alternatively because that's what they force themselves to evolve to, because it is beneficial to have both player types at the table. The interaction between the players when it's your turn and you are drawing a card changes everything. The fact that when you bust, your cards get distributed to other players changes everything. This has all the push your luck fun of Flip 7 with a lot more player interaction and dynamic aspects of being mindful of the players around the table and what they're collecting in a way that gives a very different feeling to it. So yes, do I think they were trying to go for Flip 7? I still think I wasn't in the boardroom, I have no clue what was going on, but I assume they were trying to capture the same level of magic that Flip 7 did. And I don't know if they will. I think magic is a very interesting thing to try to capture. I think the nature of going viral is impossible to inherently replicate. But from a game mechanic standpoint, I can tell you that if you are a Flip 7 person, this is very much a game worth trying. This is a game that myself, my kids, my friends have taken to in the exact same way as Flip 7. Which I guess brings me to final thoughts and rating. Rating-wise, I'm going to be coming in at a 3.5 out of 5. And you might be like, well, Alex, you made it sound so incredibly exciting. And it is. I do think this kind of game is not the main thing that I look for when pulling a game off the shelf. I look for games that are less push your luck, I mean push your luck can be a mechanic, and more that lean into a bit more of the strategy or interaction, and sometimes when you're trying to capture that viral magic, sometimes simplicity can be better. I do think that Flip 7, by the way, Flip 7 for me is also a 3.5 out of 5. It's a game that's surprisingly good, but also like it's still like a mass market game that I'm always happy to play, but not as likely to suggest. And I'll say Sky 5 hits that very well. So a 3.5 out of 5, an excellent game, but if you are a Flip 7 person, like I don't know what my title for my review is going to be, but it's probably going to reference Flip 7 because I think this speaks to that same target audience, and I think it does so well, so you should definitely check it out. So that's Sky 5, says Flip 7. That's Sky 5 from Jude City Games. Which brings me to my recommendations. If you are interested in this game, if you like this game, definitely check out Flip 7, as I mentioned already. And if you're looking for an oldie but a goodie, a different kind of push your luck, a game that's more up my alley as far as when you have push your luck, but it's more pushing the players than pushing the luck. One of my favorite games, older games in my collection, is going to be No Thanks, a game that constantly has you trying to be mindful of the cards you collect, but in this game, you're not really pushing what's going to be drawn from a deck so much as when you're going to push the buttons of the other players and have them taking the card that you did or didn't want when you did or didn't want it. Definitely check it out. It's an excellent game. I mentioned earlier that Allplay is a channel sponsor. If you go to allplay.com, you can find games from a variety of publishers. They work with both, obviously, their games, as well as a lot of partner publishers, and wherever you are, you can go ahead and get flat rate shipping for your region. In the US, it's going to be $4, and Drew City Games is actually one of the partner publishers, so you can go ahead and check out their games, as well as Allplay, as well as Bitewing, as well as any number of publishers, and get all of them at one low price. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.